Hey Stampers, Rachel here, Rachthestamper, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cute card. Now, this is a retired stamp set, so you could obviously use something different for this, but this is the card I created. It uses Pretty Peacock as the base. We have some layers in here with white Pretty Peacock and then white watercolor paper. And then we have vellum. Guess what? Vellum is back. It's a 12 by 12. Yay, isn't that exciting? So we have for our color combination, Pretty Peacock, Coastal Cabana, and Calypso Coral. These, I love these two. These are two of my favorites. Pretty Peacock is pretty amazing as well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the watercolor because that portion does need to dry, and then I will explain the rest of it. This measures approximately 3 3/4, I think. Whoopsie, just lost a piece. By 5. Yes, 3 3/4 by 5. We are using the perennial postage dies. These went along with that lavender paper, and there's a really pretty stamp set. I feel like the dies are still there, but I don't think everything else is. This is the second largest die, but we're going to watercolor first, and then we are going to die cut. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do to start. I have some water. I have Calypso Coral. We can kind of put a puddle in there if we want. Also, because we have this glass mat, you could do it on here instead if you wanted to. So I'm going to show you that way, because that way it's a little bit more fun. So what you'll do is you're going to just put a little dot of color re-inker here on your glass mat. And then you will take a larger brush. Doesn't need to be this big, but this is just clean water that I have here. And I'm kind of just going back and forth on the watercolor paper. This is not Stampin' Up! Watercolor paper. That's good. I'll tell you what it is in a moment. Let me just get this color on here first. Where's my other brush? It's probably right in front of me, but I don't see it. There it is. These are some brushes I got a really long time ago. I like them a lot. They're called Royal and Langnickel. I think Christina Warner turned me onto these, so it's her fault. I'm just adding some water to this, and then I'm going to kind of just let it bleed across. Actually, I feel like I need a little more color. I want this to be a little zippier than it is. That's better. It's like 2 eyeballs. I want it to be just a little darker in some spots. But the nice part about watercolor paper is it bleeds. So kind of every time you get a card, it will look completely different. And it follows the pattern of whatever you did when you wet it, which is pretty cool too. So the nice part about this is we're going to let this dry naturally. You can also use a heat tool, which will give it a completely different look when you dry it. Oh, here's my thing. So I'm gonna clean this off just a little bit more. It looked like it was still pretty inky. Okay, this one was only water. So you just want to make sure when you do have nice brushes that you take the time, you kind of flatten them back to their shape and you set them to dry. I'm going to let these dry here, and then I'm going to just clean this up, and then boom, done. I do always replace the brush cap. I don't know if you are or aren't supposed to do that, but I feel like the way I store my brushes, they are separated, but they are still prone to being able to be messed around. So I kind of try to take as good of care of them as I think I do. So I'm going to show you what we're using for this otherwise, because we do have some stuff to do. So we have a white for the inside. We have a Pretty Peacock base, 5.5 by 8.5, score at 4 1/4. We have a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of white. We have a 3 3/4 by 5 piece of peacock, and then we're going to die cut this piece, so it's going to just take it down just a little bit, so it's going to layer on there really nicely. I have some white scrap. This is going to be for my vase. I think I can also fit these little palms, and we have a little palm frond, and then back there's our little piece of vellum. So I also have a little scrap for the thank you, and I have a little piece that I'm going to cut. This comes out of what is it, Coastal Cabana, and it just makes the vase a little bit taller. So I'm not going to put those on yet. We're going to do a little bit of our stamping, die cutting, and then we'll move on. In case, here's our other little piece for that. In case you're not familiar, that is the Earthen Textures. And we just need this other large die. Most of these, I just kind of use scrap. So even if it wasn't like the full stem, because you don't really need the whole stem because you're going to trim it off. But let me do a little bit of stamping first. So I did the larger vase in Pretty Peacock because the top was going to be Coastal Cabana. We have that. I'm going to just trim that out by hand. I did the, I don't know, wheat sprigs. I'm not really sure what they are in Coastal Cabana. The other one was Pretty Peacock, in case I misspoke. And then we should be able to cut out this little palm leaf on here. Again, if we don't have the whole thing, it's okay, because we're going to be sticking it into a vase, so you really won't see it. We do need one other die. So we have this. I'm going to hand cut the vase, so I'm not really too concerned with that part. This one we'll put here. And we need to die cut that other little part, which is this. So I'm just going to die cut all of these, and then I'll trim this guy. And actually, before I trim this, I should have done this while it was still a little bit more wet. I'm going to use my blender pen to just kind of soften. This was really inky, so it was okay. Soften the color on this. Kind of also like fill in the blank. Does anyone remember those amazing coloring books that we used to have growing up, where all you needed was a paintbrush and a little cup of water, and they had all the dots of color on the pages already, and you basically were just filling in the blanks of coloring? I love those color books. They were so fun. They had those for a couple years when Christian was really little, but man, they're hard to find. They were really, really easy because they weren't super messy. I think probably that's why most parents like them. You know, you can just give your kid a little cup of water and they can paint. Colors don't really, they're not super vivid, so they weren't really super messy. Okay, and we have this piece. Oh, I forgot to die cut my vellum. Got so excited. Forgot. This piece can sometimes, just because of the way the palms are, be a little bit challenging to get out. And we have one more piece here. And here he is. Just gonna die cut this vellum piece. And I just put this on with glue dots. So there, you probably can see them if you really look for them, but honestly, they kind of fade into the background since it's kind of busy, which is really cool. So here's this. And that vellum was kind of a sleeper. I didn't even see it in the catalog until somebody else pointed it out. So I am still on, you can see the very ends here of my vellum. I'm saving all these little pieces, crazy as it is. But I guess when you really like something and you want to keep it, you do what you got to do. I'm going to just, with giving this one more moment for, especially for this to dry before we assemble, I'm going to just stamp my thank you. I feel like it fits on this. It's really tight, but that's just a little 1/2 inch scrap. And if not, we'll put it on something bigger and make it work. Oh, perfect. All right, so that was, again, Calypso Coral. Okay, and we're going to trim both of these. It's kind of fun when you can pull out these older sets that you have, and people will have come up with a new color combination. Because with this one, I never liked these in colors. This was at the time of the Moody Mauve I did not even like that color when it was originally out in the 90s. That was just not, I just don't like the color. I think it's just very bleh. So I liked this set. The only thing was I felt like the colors that they presented it in, that was also when we had that baby poop color. I did like the gray that we had at that time, but I wanted to like this, but I couldn't find any samples that weren't done in those same colors. So I feel like this, when I saw this, that's when I borrowed it from my friend. I just had to make it because it was just a nicer color combo. Okay, that's probably slightly askew, but it's okay. Is what it is. All right, we're gonna move all this stuff out of the way. Oh, the only one thing I forgot to do, I do need my, what did I use for that? I feel like I used Coastal Cabana, but maybe not. We'll see. I need a sponge dauber. I feel like I had one out, but maybe not the correct color. So I'm just gonna grab one that kind of looks that color-ish. And we are gonna add a little bit of color to the palm and a little bit to this topper right here. That's good. That's plenty. I don't think we need any more. A little bit there. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. I just want to wipe that off and then we'll put everything together. That is the cool part about this, because since you're cleaning or working on glass, you can just wipe it off, move on. I do like that, but I also like the fact of having that large clear mat that I stamp on, because it holds everything down like a tacky mat. I like that too. All right, so a lot of assembly here. And this still needs to be die cut, but I'm just giving that another moment. I really don't want to get out the heat tool because I know it's loud. So we'll see. We're going to just glue our layers down. So again, this is our base card. This is thick white 4 by 5 1/4. Pretty Peacock 3 3/4 by 5. And we have to die cut this, so let's see. It's still a teeny bit wet and it's not going to adhere properly, so my apologies. I got to crank the heat tool for a second. The other thing you can do if you want when you're finished with this, once you dry it, if you flick some water, soak it up with a paper towel, you'll also get splotches, so that's another idea. You could also, this is the other thing that I had, I thought I had it out, maybe I don't. I wrapped some gold, some just retired gold twine around here. I thought that was really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut this. Again, I'm just kind of centering it how I like it, running it through. Okay, so we have this piece here. And since this is watercolor paper, you really want to make sure you give it a good amount of glue. It's very toothy, so kind of putting that right in the center. And then we're going to build. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my vellum piece, and I did put these on with just a couple dimensionals. You don't really need a lot because the bulk of it is being held down by the rest of the panels. So I kind of put 3 top, left, and right, just like so. And if you wanted to, you could put some glue down here for this to kind of set in, but again, you don't really need to because the rest of it's going to hold it down. We have our other piece. Kind kind of go like here-ish. We have our other, this one could use some adhesive sheet, or you can just put some dots in the back. Again, it's going to get held down, so. Like that. We're going to take this and a teeny bit of glue right here, because this is how we're going to make this vase taller. So just kind of stick that on there like that. And then you can do this one of two ways. You can either put a little strip of tear tape here if you wanted to, which kind of makes it easier if you ask me. You could use a little piece of Scotch tape, but I'm going to put just a little piece of tear tape because this is going to get dimensionals on it. And then what I did is I wrapped, hold on, I just had my gold foil. Kind of just wrapped it around. And, oops. Snapped. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of that. And I also put one dimensional on the one side of my thank you. So kind of popped like that. And then this, I put some glue on this side. Yeah, this is definitely, I gotta trim this just a little bit. It's just a little wonky. That looks better. So I put glue on this side, dimensional on that side, but because of the size of this, I might need to trim it just a little bit. Might be okay. Nope, it's good. That worked out well. So dimensional, dimensional, a little bit of glue. There you go. There's that. And then all you have to do when you're ready is finish your inside panel. Fun card. I love watercoloring. Watercoloring and heat embossing. Those are just two of my absolute favorite things to do. They're so fun. It adds a lot of impact, really, with not a lot of effort. I mean, you could do a lot of watercoloring all at one time and let it dry, or you could also do watercoloring. Another thing that you can do that's really fun is watercoloring and then sprinkle coarse salt on it. Now that you have to let air dry, but let air dry and the salt absorbs it and you'll get like a cool pattern. And look, watercoloring, we did these. They're two different looking cards. It just depends on how much ink, how much water, what kind of paper. Oh, speaking of paper, I just want to show you what. This is what I use. This is my second Strathmore watercolor paper. I like it. It's really nice. It gives you a really good print. You can get this, I'm pretty sure anywhere carries it. You can get it at big box craft stores. You can get it at, you can probably even get it at Walmart, honestly. I'm pretty sure it's a very universal carry, but hopefully you guys found something new today. Again, we use the Earthen Textures, and then these are the perennial lavender dyes. So those are what we use today. We use the second largest for this here. So really fun, simple card. I love the colors of this, way better than the colors that they originally came out with, because those were just not my thing. I hope you learned something new today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like, subscribe, follow, and share with your friends. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know below. As always, if you like to shop, there are always links that you can purchase things. But more importantly, if you have stuff, try this with what you have first and see what you can make with things that you already own, because sometimes that's more the fun of it, rediscovering what you already have that you might have forgotten about in your craft room. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out.